a few minutes ago. Thanks. Just for the members to know, I guess our current status as far as officers are concerned carries over till the end of the term of June 23rd, Esmeralda said, which is when we would need to refresh those officers. So I'll continue to act as the chairman for the meantime. So we'll call the meeting to order at 9:04 on October 11th, 2022. Members present are Mark Catone. All right, please respond with an aye if you're present. Oh, excuse me, I should be starting with our, for the record. It's been a while. Okay, so good morning for the record. I'm Chris Young, chair of the HDC's SAC. Let's confirm access. Please respond with an aye when I call your name. Mark Catone.
Aye.
Kevin Kuster.
He's muted, but he said aye.
Aye. And Paul Wolf.
Aye.
All right, and then staff, we have Esmeralda Martinez.
Present.
And Billy Sad.
Present.
Okay, this open meeting of the HDC's SAC has been conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020. That order, posted with the agenda materials for the meeting, allows public bodies to convene remotely so long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recording, which will be available on the town's YouTube channel. With no members of the public having asked to speak, this meeting, well, we will feature public comment by applicants. Materials provided to members for the meeting or provided during the meeting are, unless otherwise noted, available on the town's website. During the meeting, I'll introduce topics and speakers. Please remember to mute your Zoom audio until your name's called. Direct comments, questions to the chair to avoid crosstalk and make taking of minutes easier, and votes will be conducted by roll call. So now we'll call the meeting to order at 10:05 on October 11th, 2022. And this meeting is being recorded. Do we have a motion to adopt our agenda?
I've got one comment on the agenda, Chris.
Okay,
I'd like to add at the end for commissioner comments.
okay, so adding after other business, you want to add commissioner comments?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Just
Or do you want to put it during public comment? Do you want to step out of the role of commissioner and make public comment?
no, I think I would like us all to be able to discuss the
Okay.
comments.
So then do we have a motion to, well, procedurally, is that okay? Esmeralda and Bill?
We can edit.
Okay, so do we have a motion then to add commissioner comments to the end of the agenda? That's your motion, Kevin?
Yeah, and just as a side note, I think it should be something going forward that we do every week.
Okay. Do you have a second to that?
Second.
Okay, Mark seconds that. Paul, are you in favor?
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, so we've added that to the end of the agenda. As far as the minutes go, I talked to Esmeralda before the meeting. The fact that they were sent so long ago, we can hold those for everybody to have a chance to review them if we like. We don't have to make the approval during this meeting, but I don't think we need to amend the agenda for that. So do we have an adoption of the agenda? A motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, we have a second. Thanks, Mark. Kevin, are you in favor?
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Okay. So moving on to the minutes. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve those or make a motion to hold for our chance to review?
Motion to hold.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Second.
Thanks, Mark. Paul, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
Okay. So for public comment, is anybody on for just general public comment, or does anybody want to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to new business. So we've got a collection of signs for 2 Chestnut Street, and Dylan, you're here to represent Blue Flag?
Yep.
Okay. So do you want to give us an overview of this? I think we'll have to go through sign by sign, but in general, what's going on with the property?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Hawthorne House is just another extension, a new auxiliary building of the existing Faraway Hotel. And the signage is going to follow in suit with the existing exterior signage that's currently shown, and I think was previously approved before Faraway opened last year. So again, we're just following the same style, color type that's currently presented on all of the existing Faraway buildings. I can. Do you already have the presentation of the signage on your end?
I believe we have sign by sign, nothing that's a master sign plan, correct, Billy? We just have each sign individually
Okay.
shown.
Yeah,
So
I can walk through each exterior sign, if that would be helpful.
yeah, let's start with number one. So Esmeralda, you have control of the screen, or Billy, who has the screen control?
I have it. I'm gonna get it pulled up here.
Okay.
Sorry, hang on one second.
So as far as a global, all of the applications, it looks like have wood signs carved, painted. Is that correct?
Confirmed. Yep.
There's no, okay. And they're all the same color scheme.
Correct. I think the only one that pivots from the green and white color scheme is the quarter board that will go above the front door
At Hawthorne House.
at Hawthorne House. Correct.
Okay. So. All right, and there's a lot of these signs that are all the same size, correct? 8x9. We're gonna be seeing a lot of those.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, it's just so everybody for that.
For the exception of the quarter board, that's pretty much all of what the signage will look like.
Okay. So, Billy, let's go look at each location. I think each application has a photograph of where they're going to go. Sort of like it in page 3 or 4 of the application. We scroll down. Yeah, a little further down. There we go. All right.
So I can, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, let me just ask the other members, has everybody had a chance to look at these in the view pack? Or does anybody have any?
I quickly looked at them.
Okay,
This is what I don't.
I've also looked at them, Chris.
okay, great. Paul, have you? Okay. Paul, did you have a chance to look at these in the view pack?
I did, Chris, yes.
Okay.
Glanced at them, yes.
That's what I'm sharing, right?
I've got 2 comments or 2 or
Okay.
3 comments if it helps speed it along. Hold it right there on this one. This is one of the comments that I have. That sign appears to be, I don't know, 8 feet off the ground, which brings me to wonder how these signs are located. They should be I would think they should be at a consistent height throughout the project. And that's my comment related to this particular one, but it's hard to tell on the other signs how high they are off the ground. And it would be helpful to get these signs added to the existing master sign plan for the remainder of the Fireway project. I believe we did that a while back. The other one I have a comment on is number A2, 1A2. And that refers to signs going on a fence. It's hard to tell where the fence is, and the fence doesn't look like a fence. It looks like posts.
Yeah.
Looks like freestanding signs stuck in a hedge. So again, that seems like something that doesn't fit.
Sure, I can add some commentary or context to those two questions. Going back to your first one regarding the height, I believe the thought process in placing the plaque for the sign at the height in which it's shown on the photo is to make it more visible to guests navigating through the courtyard, because there's umbrellas and plants that, you know, are at eye height. I think we would be able to move that down if needed, but I think it was more so to create a more visible sign for guests navigating through the courtyard at the Farway. And then for these, so this is actually, it's a metal fence, but it has live ivy growing through it to disguise the fence, just to create a green wall. And the posts that these signs are fastened to are just wooden posts that are helping support and fastening those ivy wall planks or panels to. We do have a couple signs up at Sister Ship when you come off Center Street into the courtyard entranceway. There's a Sister Ship sign mounted to one of these panel posts in the same fashion, just indicating that this is the restaurant.
And where is this? We don't have any plan views here, so where is this?
Got it. So, yep. So if you walk through the courtyard and where that sign that was located high up, there's a pathway that walks between both the meeting house and the gatehouse. And at the end of that pathway is where these signs are located. So it's tucked into the center of the campus between all the faraway properties. And right behind it in this photo is 16.5 Federal, which is the Federal Suite. So this is just indicating that guests would enter the Federal Suite just to the right of that sign, and then they would go left to head to the Hawthorne House. And there'll be hardscaping towards the right to allow guests to navigate to the back deck of Hawthorne House.
Chris,
Yes.
if I may, I assume we do not have a comprehensive master sign plan or at least a plan that locates all of these on a site plan. Do we?
Yeah, I have that. I can send that over to everyone and circulate.
I think that would be useful because I think we're kind of guessing where these go presently. I know I am.
Sure. If it would be helpful, I could share my screen. I'm not sure what if that's allowed or not, but
Well, Dylan, I think what would be important is that there is a master sign plan that was applied for the campus.
yeah.
And so this is an amendment to that master sign plan, which wouldn't need to include each of these applications that you have, but I think it would be good to just formally revise that so that it's on record as one campus map with all of the signage, the existing previously approved signage and this new signage shown, which would help. So I think that's actually, required by our guidelines that we would ask for that. So you can share the screen, but I think we'll need to see that as part of what goes up to the HDC, for the formal review, because it is an amendment to the master sign plan that you're applying for. So I think a great purpose for today's meeting would be to get a general feedback to you if there's anybody has concerns that would require, reconsideration of the actual designs. But
Chris, can I add a couple?
Yes,
comments?
Mark, go ahead.
I unfortunately do have to leave at 9:30 for another Zoom, but
Okay.
two questions that come to mind, or maybe two or three. I agree with Kevin's comment on the height of that previous sign, the very first one we looked at. I think these should be more at eye level versus mounted up high on the structure, which I think is distracting to the architecture. Two, wherever there's an opportunity to merge signs, I see we just looked at two posts with two signs. If that can be combined into one, and maybe there's an arrow pointing this way and an arrow pointing that way, just so we have less clutter, if that's the case. And then I think the other signs, I could be completely wrong, but I thought they were blue, and these appear to, now we're going with a green, and maybe just understanding that a little bit better, why there's going to be two different colors. And then I think it would be great to see the previously approved directory signs as well, to see if there's consistency between the two. I can't remember if those are serifed. I can't remember if they had a frame around them. And being able to see what we approved previously compared to these would be, I think, helpful as well. Thank you.
Sure. I can comment on, so where the location where there's two signs, I'm not sure if it impacts your decision or not. It is set into the center of the campus. It's not, directly visible from the street, if that's a concern. As far as because this is an extension of the Faraway Hotel, all the signs will follow suit. So it's all green. I don't believe there's blue signs. There might be a quarter board that's blue, I think maybe on top of the meeting house or the manor house, but all the wayfinding signage that is currently located on the property, which is also part of this application, is all the same color, font, and is following just what in like kind.
That's helpful.
Yep.
Okay, but I think having a master sign plan that shows everything is pretty important. Paul, do you have any general comments that you want to?
I really don't have anything to add to what's been said already.
Okay. Great. I agree, Kevin, that that one sign being up high was the one that jumped out at me, being atypical of what we would approve. And so I think that would, and my recommendation would be that comes down to a consistent height across the campus. And if that means having to move an umbrella or rethink its location, then that probably should happen.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to, are there any concerns?
I can
the
pull
room-
the master plan if that would be
Sure. Show us that.
helpful, just to at
So we
least give
can-
everyone context of where we're at the moment.
That would be helpful.
One second. All right, let me know. I just started sharing, so let me know if you are able to see this screen.
Okay, yeah, we can see that screen. And do you have access to we can't make this all come together today, but do you have access to the previously approved master sign plan?
I do. I don't have it at my
Okay,
disposal just at the moment. I think it might take me a second, just
well, that's okay. I think that for the final review, they should be overlaid and made into one.
okay. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. But right now are you able to see my pointer? I might need to make a.
Yes.
You are, okay, so currently sign 1, that's where it was located higher up, presumably 8 feet in the courtyard area. So again, that's just indicating along this walkway towards the center of the campus where guests in this house staying here, which is 16.5 Federal, would enter into this property through just to what is the right of that sign. Or where 1A is, that's what was labeled as Hawthorne House, and guests would go down to the left and then take a right where number 3 is located and enter the back steps onto the back deck where the Hawthorne House entry would be. So that's just for context of where those signs are located in parallel to the full property plan.
Okay. So generally speaking, is the only sign on this entire map that is not an 8x9 sign, the sign by the door of Hawthorne House at the top right of screen?
Yeah, number 6. I think in the packet, it may be mislabeled as number 7, but on this site plan, it's number 6 at the front door, which is a quarter board.
Okay. And every other sign, this is helpful to see. So every other sign is just a room number directional sign.
Mhm.
8 and there's a handicap sign as well in Federal Street. Okay.
And again, it's all following suit with what is currently in place at Roberts House, Meeting House, Manor House, and Gatehouse.
Okay, so our goal is to get this application to a point for where we can send a positive recommendation up to the HDC, which I think our members believe that should include a revision to the master sign plan. I'm gonna just go around the board one more time, see if anybody has any other concerns that we should discuss today. Mark, before you go sign off, do you have any other concerns or thoughts?
No additional concerns.
Okay, Kevin?
No concerns.
Okay. Noting the height issue of.
Yeah,
drawing.
I mean, no other concerns that we've already discussed.
Yeah, okay. And Paul?
No, none.
Okay,
So just a quick
Yeah.
question to make sure I understand next steps. I'll work on assembling a master plan that shows both existing or previously approved signs with this overlaid with the new proposed signs. And then will I have to come back for a formal hearing again, or is this something I could send through to?
so your options are this. You could take the sign applications as they are. If you say that you'd like to go to the board directly with them as they are, we would recommend that you need to make a revision to the application to include the master sign plan and to lower that sign and possibly combine the two fence signs.
Yeah.
You can submit a revision to us that accomplishes those goals. And I think you're hearing from our board members that we would be generally in favor of everything else, and we'd send it up to the board with a positive recommendation. Yeah, those are really sort of the two. And if you did that, it would be your decision whether or not you want to come back to our board meeting at the next time we meet. I think that it would probably be advisable. It's always advisable to represent yourself, but the concerns that we have are basically what we've stated today. So color scheme may come into question if the color scheme isn't consistent with the existing.
Yeah, the color scheme, I can, it might be rendered, a little off like on the applications, but that's in our best interest too, to just keep everything consistent as, across the property. So we're certainly aligned there. One thought with regards to the two signs that we are considering making one is that might throw off the consistency of the sign size. So I think part of the thought in doing two signs was to keep it consistent with just the layout and look at the sign. So if that's not as much of a concern, and we'd be okay with perhaps a slightly larger sign and smaller text, I think we'd be open to that as well.
Okay, well, I guess we could give you some feedback on that. Does that, Kevin, do you have any thoughts on that? Just so we could give them some feedback if they're going to make any revisions. The two signs located in the courtyard.
And sorry, just to clarify, they're not directly in the courtyard. They are set back.
I'm sorry, calling that area
in
in the setback area.
A back walkway area.
So I'll go through the board, let them make any comments or thoughts on that. So
I guess seeing where they are on this diagram, I don't think they're going to be that visible to be a concern for me.
Okay, Mark, if you're still on board.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, Paul.
Yes, I don't have a problem. A lot of these signs, in fact, I think most of them will not be visible from outside the complex anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
Chris, I do think it's important to get the master sign plan integrated because I've noticed there's been a little bit of creep on the other part of this project. So I just want to make sure we have a plan that shows everything that's approved.
Yeah, I think that's important for us. So Dylan, that's really where we're coming from, is to get one master sign plan for the campus that incorporates everything previously approved, maybe something that was put up that hasn't been approved. If there is anything, just look for it. And these new applications. And then we can, generally speaking, it sounds like everything's approvable and we'd get our recommendation for approval with that to go up to the board.
Okay. That's doable, not a problem.
Okay. All right, so I think let's make a 1 through 10 agenda item motion. If somebody wants to make a motion, that would satisfy 1 through 10.
Motion to hold for minor revisions and integration to the master sign plan.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Mark, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Paul
Aye.
and Kevin?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your time.
Okay, so enforcement is the next item on the agenda. Is that, Billy, is that your department or Esmeralda's?
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Dylan.
That will be me.
Okay,
Hang on, do you want me to share my screen with the
sure,
agenda?
yeah, you have the floor.
While we're waiting, did anybody see the large information sign that's now up on Surfside Road? Where the pump house is, I believe.
Yes.
Near the former Miles Reese property.
Yes, I've seen it. And I
It's-
look at it and I say, why is this necessary?
I agree. I just think it worked. One, I don't think it came through any board or advisory. And
I don't think so.
yeah, so I think all of it seems a little questionable. I mean, it's not in our purview, but it's on a black chain link fence. It just, I don't understand a lot of what's going on there, but certainly that sign. So I'll try and get a pic, or
If you had a pic,
if you're out and about, we can get into Esmeralda, and that would be great.
good idea.
So, Billy, and Esmeralda, just to clarify, Esmeralda's gonna be stepping back from what I
Right.
understand. Billy's taking over, so all communication will go to you, Billy. Is that the best? Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, moving forward, you can email me directly, and definitely, if you come across any signs that are, that require enforcement, please include a photo for me.
Okay,
If anything gets sent to me, I just been forwarded to Billy
Okay,
and he's taking.
We'll get
them
care
on
of
to
all
Billy.
that. Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna jump off, guys. I'm sorry. But
right.
nice to see you
Thanks.
all.
nice to see you. Thanks for being here.
Take
All
care,
right,
guys.
we
I have
still
a-
have a quorum.
I have a question regarding enforcement. And it is related to the previous enforcement list and any notices that have been sent out. Do we need any kind of a formal action from the full board to reinstate all of those, or are they all still current? Or do we have to start over with everything? I just don't want to, I don't want to find out that we're thrown out for some unknown reason, because there seems to be, particularly these construction signs, have been given some sort of blessing that don't meet our guidelines. And I just would like some clarification on that.
Yeah, so none of those have been thrown out. None of the that enforcement list, it's still active. The construction signs, I believe that was a incorrect statement at that meeting. The sign book does clearly lay out what's an acceptable sign and what's not. And it took me a little bit to get caught up to speed, but there is a multi-step process for violation notices and fines and things like that. So I've got that under my belt at this point, and I plan on getting, just catching up on a lot of the enforcement that requires some attention right now.
Yeah, that's great. I would also, if you get a chance, there's been a fair number of easels and other assorted things that have popped out on Center Street. That seems to be our biggest
Okay.
area right now. To maybe just take a stroll through.
Yep.
The other question I have is we have a couple of violators that continually violate season after season after season. And I haven't done the research in to find out what the proper protocol is when you have a persistent violation. I'm just not sure how we clear that up, because I have asked for it many times, and we seem to start over every spring like everybody's forgiven. So just keep that in mind as we go forward, because we end up having to, repeat ourselves over and over and over with certain violators who seem to receive no consequences for their actions.
Okay.
I'm speaking specifically about Friedman's and Epernay and, some of the bars. That's just a consistent problem. And I've asked for an answer before and I haven't got one. So if you could work on that, would be great.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that would be good to have Billy get into how that town, how you're being directed to handle that, Billy. That would be helpful for us to understand.
Yep.
There is a section, Appendix B of the sign book under violation procedure does say that repeat violators will not receive a second courtesy notice. A violation citation can be issued upon each repeat violation. So, interpretation of that would be up to the staff and the HDC, but I think that was written so that it, addressed Kevin's concern that somebody that just puts a sign up, takes it down, and then puts it back up doesn't reset the violation clock, so to speak. But that would be just something worth making sure everybody's on the same page with. So, Billy, you were going to tell us about violations.
Yeah, so there's one violation on here that I received a complaint from a member of the public about a sign at the Union Lodge at 30 Main Street. They were complaining that the sign hangs too low and they hit their head on it. So I went down there and took a photo. It does hang pretty low. I am 6'5", so I'm on the taller side of the spectrum here. But it, you can see it's below my nose. There is a flower pot there. I don't, I did share this photo with the chairman of HDC, and he thought you guys should maybe bring this back up for discussion, just given the height of that sign.
Yeah, signs need to be 7'6" from the sidewalk, and I think in this case the planter doesn't replace the sidewalk, especially the fact that it doesn't even cover the entire, space underneath the sign. And that's my opinion. And you sent us the previous.
Yeah. Do you want me to pull up the approval?
That would be helpful, because there is a picture with where that's going to be mounted, and I don't understand how that got lower on the brick. I see that it was marked, but
so that business shares that building with a few other businesses, and that's what the additional signs on that building are mounted at one height. So that was the motion was to approve with the sign put in line on the facade with the other signs on that building.
So can you hit your head on all of them then?
No, because that sidewalk goes down as you're walking down Main Street. So it kind of tightens as you get further up.
Okay.
And here, I think when they originally brought in their application, they had a picture in here. Here it is. They wanted to mount it up above the bricks, but that would put it out of line with the other signs on the door or on the building.
Got it. So
It seems to me that it's part of an issue of the bracket not being appropriate to hold the sign high enough off the ground. I don't think we typically look for an elevation that shows how far it's off the ground. But I would agree that they should all be in the same line. The same incline, if you will, happens on Center Street as well, and they've managed to make that work. I still think they should be at a consistent height as far as the mounting goes, but it looks to me like this bracket needs to change, or the sign perhaps needs to change. I think what they also did is they tried to move an existing sign from another location, and it's probably having a little bit of trouble fitting because of that.
It's interesting because the bracket that they're using doesn't exactly match what they applied for. I don't know if that would solve the problem.
Well, it also doesn't match the other ones that are on that building.
Right, but we did approve that bracket that's on the screen right now.
Right.
So I wonder if,
That one,
well, I mean, that's what it's marked approved, so
yeah. And then, yeah, it is a little
that's
different.
that's not what's there. All right. Does anybody on the board want to just go down and help take a look at it, help Billy with this? I mean, I guess technically they didn't put up with what was approved. I don't know
That's
if that
what I
would
can
solve the
easily-
problem.
I mean, I think I can send them a letter regarding the bracket. I just don't know that will change the height of it necessarily. So,
Well, maybe to give you a hand there, we can go down and just take a look at it and see if Kevin, maybe we recommend that it goes up on the white like they originally proposed, would, give it the sense that it's all in line. I can't really tell from.
Yeah. I mean, I can take a broader picture of it. In fact, I was just down there the other day. The photo gallery on the corner has two violations on it, on their entry and their sign, but their bracket is just a straight post. I think it's just a matter of doing some measuring to see if a straight bracket would get it up far enough. I mean, even if we get it close to 7 feet, I think it's an improvement.
yeah,
And it would probably be less expensive for the owner to just put a new bracket in than it would be to build a new sign.
Right. Well, clearly the bracket isn't what was approved, so they're sort of.
But I don't think I would put that bracket up on that white band. I think that would be very distracting for that building, because it would be the only one on that entire front that is out of line.
okay. And I'm on the taller side of the spectrum of people. So I think, if they were able to get it up around where my mouse is, I think it would miss 99% of people's heads at that height.
All right. Well, that's good. So we'll all go down and do a little looking at that and help help make some recommendations there.
Okay.
Do you have a list of violations that you're working off of, like a spreadsheet?
I do. And I could send that to all of you.
That would be great.
That would be
Okay.
great. All right, so we've addressed 30 Main Street. New item on our agenda is commissioner comments. Kevin, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, I do. I just want to make a comment that I thought the way that our group was disbanded was one of the rudest things that have happened on the island for quite some time. It was very disruptive, unnecessary, and we still haven't received a solid reason as to why. Anyway, that said, I have a number of concerns about how the Nantaka application is moving forward. I understand there was a memo sent out. I do not agree that the memo is necessarily legal. I don't agree that staff is in a position to write policy. And I believe that the community and the HDC board is better served by having full information. In the case of this one, the application that they're presenting tonight is the same application that was before us at least 4 or 5 times. And the applicant refused to address any of the concerns and instead has presented a collage of images that some are current and some are not, with no rationale as to why they were approved or why they exist. Secondly, that location has several other violations that in our normal course of procedure, we don't approve new signs for locations that have a number of existing violations. I won't waste our time with going over what those violations are. They should already be on our violations list. So I don't quite know how we proceed forward with this that better serves the community and gets the applicant a sign that they can have that fits within our guidelines.
Kevin,
I'll wrap up soon.
Okay.
I think there's a couple ways to handle this. I'm happy to go speak individually on any application that doesn't necessarily, I'm not trying to single out this one. It's that this seems to be problematic. I'm happy to go address it individually. However, I think that it might be more effective if we're available to the HDC tonight or prior to these things to at least give them some background, because I think it's extremely unfair and very disruptive for them to have to rehash the same thing that we've now gone over for hours. So that's
okay.
all.
So I don't want anybody else to make comment on that application because it wasn't on the agenda. So we can't have any deliberation on that as far as the specific sign you referred to is concerned.
I'm not sure you're correct with that, Chris.
Well, let's err on the side of caution, but in this one case, I just think that as far as deliberation, let's not deliberate on that sign. I think the concept of us being able to go to, as was suggested before we were reconstituted, we're allowed to go back to HDC meetings or any board meeting and speak under public comment. And I would hope that our comments would be heard by the board and considered in their approval process. So we are on the agenda next week. Let me ask that, Billy, are we on the HDC's agenda next week for a joint meeting with the SAC and the HDC? Or Esmeralda?
You will be, yes. The agenda is not posted yet, but yes, you will be added to the agenda. And it will be one of the first items on the agenda.
Okay, so at that time we can discuss procedures and expectations, et cetera, which I think is very important because I agree with you, Kevin, as far as the way things were handled. It was, I didn't like the way it was handled either. And I think that it is not clear exactly what our mission is moving forward with respect to how we see applications and can, I don't agree with the memo either that says that we should not be allowed to weigh in on every application. So that's my opinion. But for tonight's meeting, will there be a review at tonight's meeting, Esmeralda, of the Nantaka sign?
We haven't gotten anything new that we haven't posted already on the view pack. That's why I haven't posted anything on the view pack, because we have not received anything new from them. Last thing I posted was, I think, a few weeks back. They were supposed to post something or give me something new, but they have not done so yet. So I don't even know if we're gonna see it tonight.
Okay, but it's possible it could be.
It's very possible, but don't know.
Okay, well, but there would be a staff review according
Correct,
to
and I wouldn't be doing that review. That would be something Billy would, and it would be at his discretion if he wants to review it today, or might. Again, it all depends on when they're bringing that packet in. I would have assumed they would have done it some point last week, because typically we don't tend to receive things on the day of a meeting because we want to make sure we do a very thorough review.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
included my review for what they've previously handed in, but I wouldn't be able to do a review today for HDC if we were to receive some information.
Okay. And so if the public wanted to go and make comment, would that review be available to the public?
Yeah,
Okay. And where is that review located?
my staff review,
Yeah.
it was on the original packet for when it was put on the agenda again.
So maybe 2 weeks ago or a week ago, last week's agenda, view pack.
When I send the violation spreadsheet, I'll send a copy of my notes on that to you guys.
Okay. And that's not in any violation of,
It's public
Alright.
record, so I don't believe that's in violation. Esmeralda, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's on the town website.
Yeah, I can send a link to the town website even.
okay. So before we have a chance to meet with the HDC and discuss all of these procedures and policies, if something were to come up at tonight's meeting that anybody wanted to speak on as public comment, we would have that. That's everybody's right. Okay, so Kevin, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yes, I'm trying to find a way to discuss it without discussing.
I think you can make any comment you want. We just can't deliberate as well.
Well, I
disagree.
disagree with you on that, Chris. You know, commissioner comments are meant for commissioners to discuss various things. Public comments are meant to
Okay.
be taken in without any kind of reply. So to comment amongst ourselves and not deliberate is kind of a waste of time, frankly. The one question I would like to ask related to this is on this memo that staff drafted. Was this memo, who instructed this memo to be drafted? In other words, I'm not clear who we're reporting to. Are we reporting to the HDC, or are we reporting to the Board of Selectmen who appointed us? So I want to know, when there's sweeping changes coming through, who are they coming from and why? I think that's very appropriate, and it's a responsible thing to do. So if you have an answer for it now, fine. If not, I'll guess ask it tonight. But where's this direction coming from? If it's coming from the HDC and they want to take all this stuff on themselves, that's fine. Let me know. Let us know. And I won't waste anybody's time on it. But if they're as in the dark and in the fog about this as we are, that doesn't serve anybody. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that our meeting next week, where we can formally sit down as a group, is going to be helpful. That's a question we need to know the answer to. I absolutely agree with that. And Paul, do you have any thoughts on?
No, I would agree with that. And
Okay.
hopefully if we have a joint meeting, we can raise those questions.
Yeah. Would it be, Kevin, anything that you want to, if you want to draft any of your questions, I think all of us should do that in preparation for the meeting. So we're not just, thinking on the spot, but if we were able to put together sort of an agenda, or at least ideas that we want to have addressed, that would be helpful for us to send to Esmeralda to perhaps put,
Yeah, Chris, I don't disagree with that. However, I guess I would put this on the people that made the change. I think our group has functioned very well. And if there's something that needs to be changed, let's just talk about what needs to be changed. Otherwise, as far as I recall, what the Board of Selectmen and the HDC said, it's business as usual. And that's pretty easy to understand. So if there's something that needs to be changed, let's discuss that rather than trying to reinvent the entire wheel.
No, I agree. I think the memo that I questioned, Esmeralda, in the email to you, and I did read the response. I appreciate that. And honestly, I didn't agree with it. I didn't realize that that language was exactly what that was, although I have to admit that it was sent to us before, regarding the fact that applicants, for example, can circumvent us at their request. I just don't think that aids us as a board in the fact that when we review applications, it's largely based on precedent and previous, the previous approval processes for other signs on the same streetscape. So to have our role be one of, theoretically, where we would only see half the sign applications, for example, which according to that memo is entirely possible, it would really handcuff us in being able to do our job effectively. So, that's why I don't agree with it. And I think that if that came from somebody other than the HDC, then I agree with you, Kevin, that that is not what the statement from the select board or the request from the HDC, that wasn't the message that those two boards sent out, after this whole thing happened. So we should find out why that is now the policy, and if it has to be the permanent policy. Whereas I think the HDC, we serve now as a board constituted by the select board, but with strict input from the HDC as to what their needs are, I believe is the way the language reads. So what is the strict needs of the HDC, and how does that memo, meet those needs? That's what I would like to know. I think that's what you're saying as well, right, Kevin?
Yeah, and I also, I happily went down and, pledged in. And along with that came the assorted paperwork of, fulfilling the laws of Nantucket. I'm not sure that this memo as written that gives certain people special progress or priorities is fair or legal or something that the town would approve of. So I don't want to be doing something that falls in conflict of what the normal, practices are. I don't know of any other board that behaves this way. So I really think it's important.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the next week's meeting is important. That's why I'm glad we're meeting with the HDC. We'll be on the agenda to have an open discussion. And I hope it's a productive one that results in some clarification and answers, as opposed to just, nice to talk with you, we'll get back to you later type of response. So that would be helpful for all of us to understand what we're doing here and how we should be doing it.
Just, through all of this, it's pretty obvious when you look around town. I think we've got one of the better streetscapes of any community our size. I was at the Vineyard recently, and it's become very cluttered, and it would be a real shame to lose that sense that we have here. And I know that everybody on this committee has worked really hard at it, and it would be a shame to have that for naught.
I agree. So Billy, welcome to our world. Esmeralda, thanks for everything you've done to get us, keep us here. And, I think it does take a village. I mean, obviously we were all working on it. So.
No, thank you all. Thank you all for your patience.
And Paul, you have.
Chris, the memo you were referring to, you and Kevin, just a minute ago.
Yeah.
I probably have seen it, but I don't know where it is. Can somebody send that to me?
Will do.
Yeah. It
All
was a
right.
memo that came out, just so you know, Paul, timeline wise, it came out, and correct me if I'm wrong, Esmeralda, before the memo came, before the email that gave us all of the documents to sign and respond.
Correct.
So it was the first of the emails that sort of said, here's how we're going to reconstitute.
I could probably dig and find it.
So anyway, there's a section in it that says basically any applicant can refuse our review and go straight to the HDC requesting staff review instead of our review. And so
Okay.
I think Kevin's point, my point is that that's sort of, what's our role here? Are we just,
Right. Right. I
In
agree.
theory, that means that we could be getting one application a year and everybody else is just circumventing us. So I don't see how that serves the purpose that I think we've been assigned to accomplish by the HDC and select board.
Okay.
Kevin, do you have any other commissioner comments?
One other brief one, just to keep in mind, and I'll also bring this up next week if there's time, but I don't want to have that meeting get off track, is I think it would be beneficial for us to consider adding a couple more people to our group. I think it would be good to get some new folks kind of trained in and and get some experience. Right now, we seem to make a quorum, but I think it'd be worthwhile considering adding 2 more people and getting getting kind of the next group groomed up, because it's a big job.
So that's something we can bring up at the HDC meeting then as well.
Yeah.
All right. Paul, any commissioner comment?
No,
Okay. My only comment is thank you guys for coming back. Glad that our board all signed on again to continue our jobs. So
Good. Thank you, Chris, for everything you've done.
you've done a great job.
thanks. Any other motions that someone wants to make?
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
All right. Kevin makes the motion. Paul, you want to second that?
Second.
All right. Paul, you in favor?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned at 10 o'clock. Thanks, Esmeralda.
Thank you.
Billy.